Hello!
Good morning, boys and girls. We hope you're all well. It is now 2021. Can you believe it? Crazy. But it is fantastic to have you with us this morning. My name is Tom.
And my name's Abby.
If you haven't met us before, we are the Kids and Youth Overseers for Redeemer Church, which is based down in sunny Worthing here. Well, it's a little bit drizzly today, but hey, it's January. So guys, we would ordinarily oversee the kids' work for Redeemer Church, which would meet every Sunday at our new building at the Gilbourne Centre, where you guys would all run off to your various groups and would have a fantastic time learning about Jesus. So, what have we got planned today? Well, we're entering a new season, which is Kids of the Bible, but each morning will consist of a welcome, a little game, a story, and then each of you will have a tailored craft or activity which will be accessible through the website, which is www.redeemer.co.uk. So if you get mum or dad to jump onto the website, you'll find your craft there. But Abs, what have we got today?
So, as Tom just mentioned, we're diving into the Old Testament today to learn all about a young man named Joseph. But before we do that, let's jump up, let's get moving and a grooving for this week's Wiggle Time. Take it away, Tom.
Morning, boys and girls. So, an old school wiggle time. Hello to you all. So, as always, make sure you got some space around you. Jump up to your feet and get energetic. If you just follow the actions I do and try and keep up, guys. So let's start running on the spot. Here we go, running along. Oh, it's a nice jog. We're speeding up now. How fast can you run? Can you run like a cheetah? Oh, and let's bring it back now to a nice little jog. Let's stretch up to the ceiling. Oh, let's stretch down to the floor. Oh, stretch to the sides. Here we go. Oh. Now let's do some star jumps. How many star jumps can you do? See if you can keep up with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think that's enough star jumps. Now let's see if we can jump and touch the ceiling with some jumps. I'm going to start really low with my jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, there's some good jumps there, guys. Right, what's our next activity? I think we're going to do some hopping. So hop on our left leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now to your right foot, quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, guys, I think I've got an ample amount of blood rushing through my system as we speak. So what better way to calm down than to have a little story with Abby.
Thanks so much, Tom, for that great and energetic wiggle time. We hope you've got the blood flowing in your bodies and that you are suitably exhausted. So now it's time to take a seat and it's time for story time. Joseph's story. Joseph and his family lived in Canaan. His father was called Jacob, and he had 11 brothers. Joseph was one of the youngest sons, and so Jacob spent a lot of time with him. One day, Jacob had a very special robe made for Joseph. It was beautiful. It was a coat made out of every colour you could possibly imagine. When Joseph's brothers saw the beautiful coat, they became very jealous. They were so jealous that they became very cruel to Joseph and were never nice to him. That night, Joseph had a strange dream. He dreamt that he and his brothers were working in the field. Suddenly, their 11 stacks of corn all bowed down to his stack of corn. Joseph told his brothers about the dream. Joseph had another dream, And again he told his brothers about the dream. He told them that the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars all bowed down to him. Joseph's brothers were so angry when they heard about Joseph's dreams. They thought Joseph thought he was better than them. They asked him, "Do you think we would ever bow down to you?" A couple of days later, Jacob asked Joseph to go and check on his brothers in the field. When the brothers saw him coming, they came up with a plan to kill him. Joseph's older brother did not want them to kill him, so they came up with another plan to throw him down a well. When Joseph caught up to them, they tore off his coat and threw him into the well. A while later, some people came who wanted things to sell in Egypt. The brothers decided to sell Joseph to these people. They ripped his coat and covered it in animal blood, then told their father Jacob an animal had killed Joseph. So everybody, we've just heard all about a guy called Joseph, and he was part of an enormous family. He had 11 brothers and he was the youngest, and his dad was called Jacob. And Jacob gave Joseph a lovely coat, but his brothers were really jealous of him when he was wearing that coat. But also in the story, it talks about Joseph having dreams. I wonder if any of you ever have dreams. Sometimes I do. And sometimes it's good if you do have them to write them down in the morning, because they might be from God. Now, God gave Joseph a dream, but at that time Joseph didn't know necessarily it was from God. And he talked about, in the dream, he was talking about them working in the field, him and his brothers working in the field, and they had these big stacks of straw or hay, and each of them represented them, and they were bowing down to one in the middle that was Joseph. And then he had a second dream after that, the next night, and he dreamt about, what did he dream about? Stars and the moon and the sun, and there were 11 stars representing all of his brothers. They were bowing to him.
Joseph.
Yeah,
That's right.
And then what happened, Tom?
Well, later on in the story, Joseph, his brothers are so mean to him, as Ab said, they threw him down a well, and then they saw some traders coming by, and they sold Joseph. They sold their youngest brother to these traders. And so Joseph was sold to them, and he went to Egypt, to a foreign land. And in that land, he had yet more dreams, and he heard other people, and they had dreams, but they didn't know what their dreams meant. But Joseph, he was a faithful man of God at this time, and he was able to interpret what the dreams meant. And so he was able to help these people who he'd never met before, but he was able to help them and interpret their dreams. And it was this blessing and this gift that God had put upon him which rose Joseph through the ranks, and he went from a servant, and he only got thrown into prison.
A slave.
Indeed, which isn't ideal. But then from prison again, he interpreted more dreams. And it was this talent, again, which the Pharaoh heard about it.
Who was a king at the time.
Indeed. And the Pharaoh had dreams, and he wanted to know what his dreams meant. And so, we can probably guess, he asked to see Joseph. So he summoned Joseph, and Joseph was brought before the Pharaoh. And he then told the Pharaoh what his dreams meant, and the Pharaoh was so impressed that he gave him responsibility for the majority of Egypt, which is mad, but pretty awesome at the same time. And this shows how Joseph's faithfulness and God looking after him impacted his life, until eventually his brothers came to town, and they didn't recognise Joseph. They thought he was probably dead at this stage of the game. But Joseph showed them grace, and he actually gave them lots of food in the end, and they all lived happily ever after.
So guys, I wonder what your gift is. Have you ever thought about that? What is God speaking to you about? Have any of you ever had a dream that could be from God? Well, why don't you go to bed tonight and you can pray to God and ask to have a dream from God. We can ask, it says in the Bible that we can ask things and God will listen. And if you remember it in the morning, maybe you can write it down or tell Mum and Dad about it.
Indeed. In fact, I think that in a moment when you do your craft, there might be certain crafts which encourage you to picture and draw your dreams out, as they might have miraculous meaning in reality. So kids, we now have a craft which is suitable for each of our age groups. That's from the youngest all the way through to year 6. So for your craft, you'll just need to nip to our website, which as we mentioned earlier is www.redeemer.co.uk, where you'll find a PDF for this very week, the Joseph Week. Download that, print it off, and we hope you have lots of fun filling it in.
So before we end, why don't we have a lovely song this week from Beth? So everyone jump up and we can sing to Jesus.
Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. He's taller than a skyscraper, and He's deeper than a submarine. He's wider than the universe, and beyond my wildest dreams. And He's known me, and He's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. He's taller than a skyscraper, and He's deeper than a submarine. He's wider than the universe, and beyond my wildest dreams. And He's known me, and He's loved me since before the world began. How wonderful to be a part of God's amazing plan. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God. Our God is a great big God, and He holds us in His hands. And He holds us in His hands. And He holds us in His hands.
Wow, isn't it great to worship God all together? So kids, next week, why don't you get Mum and Dad to tune back into YouTube? We'll be slightly different, but we're encouraging you to open your Bibles and to think about what God's saying to you. So that's just a very short devotional that Tom's going to give us next week. And then the week after, the 21st of February, we'll be back as normal, Redeemer Kids, for more stories of the Bible.
Indeed.
So we hope you have a fantastic week and look forward to seeing you again. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.